Yay, welcome to Design Track. Woo! We're very coordinated with our backgrounds here. We've been talking a lot this year about persuasion and all the things that come into play when we consider that topic. We've talked about different communication styles. We've talked about navigating power imbalances with clients. We've talked about how we can collaborate better with our peers. And last week, Erin ran us through the great workshop on leadership styles. And we looked at how we position ourselves as leaders. And we observed where we see ourselves now and where we might want to go in the future. And basically, all of these topics roll up into confidence. How might we be our most authentic selves when we're working with and navigating other human beings, whether that's in our personal life or in our projects at work, or whether it's client facing or internally. As we were talking about this, Nikki, Elias, and I, we've been having some great conversations about how to bring all these threads together. I almost feel like I've been doing Design Track for about a month or so, and I'm really sad that all of the great conversations we were having were not all of us, because now we're going to try to do it in some really short time blocks. But anything that's juicy, we can keep on talking about in Design Studio going forward. So for this year's Design Track, when we're thinking about how to roll this all together, we came up with a construct of opposites. What happens when we really tease things apart and we put one communication or leadership style on one end of a line, and we put an opposing style on the other end of the line? What styles are opposites? And are they really? If we place them across from each other, what becomes more distinct? And what overlaps that we can't separate out? And when we look at the tension between those, what do we start to understand more deeply? What does it mean to be collaborative versus assertive? Or structured versus intuitive? Which style is best and when? What do we know? What we do know is that there's not one way to be. All of us already engage in all of these styles, and we are all really skilled at doing it. We also know these are not the only ways to bucket different styles. And we know that these are not binary. We move through these styles of communication or leadership, these modalities, many times in a day. Sometimes we move through all of these in one meeting. So what we also know is that we all have our comfort zone. We have our sweet spot and the thing that we're really good at doing. And then the other thing we know is that we have a great team and lots of opportunities to learn from each other, especially at the things that we think somebody on our team does really well. So over today and tomorrow, we're going to take a trip through each of these styles or modalities, and we're going to share ideas, ask questions of each other, and shine a light on each other when we think that someone is particularly an expert at a certain style. Like always, we're probably just going to scratch the surface. But no worries, because our biggest goal is just to enjoy our time together during Design Track. So with that, I'm going to kick off our first topic, which is collaborative. We're going to look at the collaborative style of communicating and leading. And we're going to examine this topic by actually doing the thing as we collaborate. We're going to try to get a little meta about what it is we're doing when we collaborate. So what are we going to do together? We wanted to do something that would warm us up for this first session. So what we're going to do is create intuitive definitions of the 4 endpoints on our 2x2. And we're going to use an activity that I've run with clients before. Ben will remember this. We did it with Ad Council. I've never done it in Figma. I've never done it remotely. So it kind of blew my mind figuring out how to set this up. And you guys are definitely going to collaborate with me and kick the tires on this thing in Figma. I hope it'll hold up. Collaboration also means if there are things that are not working, please get in there and help me, reframe it. This is set up as a sort of crazy template that maybe you guys can reuse on projects. So what we're going to do is look at a sea of images. We're going to dot vote them, sort them, and plot them on some graphs, and then externalize what they mean to us. And hopefully those externalizations are going to build up this intuitive and collaborative definition of these different modalities. I'm definitely dipping heavily into the intuitive quadrant as well this morning. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna have you jump over into the Figma file. It's linked on the Notion page, and I wonder if somebody can drop it into the design channel. I don't know if Maya, Derry, Alice, Jasmine might not be in the design channel, but maybe somebody, Dave, maybe you could drop the link into a Slack to them and meet me here. I'm on the collaborative page, and just so I can tell if we have a quorum, and you're seeing my Figma still for a second, right? And eventually you can just look at your own Figma. But I have this little gathering spot, this little gray area on the meet me here. If everyone could like throw their cursor there, it gives me a sense of who's here yet. And I'll kind of try to orient us. So we have a couple quick housekeeping ideas or tips. Go to your assets tab in the upper left and open up the collaborative menu, and you're going to see you're going to see these 4 dots. These are going to be our dot stickers that we're going to drag on the images. So if you guys want to drag a dot over onto that gray area just to show me that it's working, they'll be tiny, but cool. I see dots happening. So these dots are for our I don't know what to call them, the ends of our spectrums. We've got assertive, collaborative, intuitive, and structured. And we're going to be dot voting, putting these dots on the images. It looks like people are finding the dots. I see Jasmine in there. I see Alice. So that's cool. Has everybody, show of hands real quick if you've found the assets tab. Okay, look, I'm seeing lots of cursors. I see Maya. Cool. So I think think of that as your sticker sheet. There's also a sticker sheet over here above the images, but I think it'll probably be easier for you to work from the, and if you hover, you'll see the labels to remind you of what's what. So quick poll, we're gonna get collaborative right away. Feel free to unmute yourselves and just talk. Dave can also drop this in the Slack. Do you, if you look over to the right, you're gonna see all these images. Can you hold in your mind all 4 and dot as you go? Or would you like to divide up into groups and have half of you just worry about collaborative versus assertive, and have half of you just worry about intuitive versus structured? Which one blows your mind less at this hour of the day? Let's see, Dave, did you do me a poll? How about show of hands? Let's do it quickly, the Zoom way. Thumbs up on your face if you can hang with 4. Okay, thumbs up actually on your face. Elias can hang with
I just got the poll up, sorry. Oh, my God.
That's okay. Here, do it over here in the Slack, in the design channel. And Maya, Derry, I don't know who's in the Slack channel. Let me see here.
I invited them.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool. So really quickly, how do you want to vote? I think I can keep track of what. Oh, dot vote on everything, 100%. Okay, a couple more people vote real quick. Also, you can do it however you want to do it too. You don't have to follow these rules. I just wanted to call out that it's kind of a lot going on. So maybe a way to focus is if you want to just do one or the other. It looks like so far the dot on everything has it. All right. we're going to do that. We're going to dot vote on everything. If that blows your mind, just focus on 2 at a time. So I'm going to set a timer. And oh, let me explain also, all of these images are in frames. So as you drag your dots over, you're going to see like a little outline. Just throw your dot within that frame as you go. And we're going to do this for about 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes. I've never played music in a Zoom meeting, and what happened to Aaron scared me yesterday. So I'm afraid to, but Dave, if you're good at doing that, well, I might have to make you host again.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Also, we can enjoy the quiet.
I can help.
Maybe
Cool.
make Daria.
What kind
She's already a
of
host.
Maybe music with no words. I don't know, just some music. Let's see. How do I get myself? Participants. I have to make you host again, huh? So go ahead and start dragging dots over. What images are collaborative to you? Oh, you're a host. Go for it. Thanks, Derry.
By the way, Sue, we do have polling on Zoom. I'm not sure if you or Dave added that, but it's there.
Oh, okay. I didn't find it in time. No worries. They're going. They're dotting. It's happening. Okay, I've got Miles's time. Which our timer is remarkably on brand. It's turquoise and red. So I've got this little timer going, and just have fun. There's no right or wrong. And Maya, you might find it easier if you open the assets tab over in the upper left. You're going to see a layers versus assets tab right under in the upper left. Actually, if you're in a browser, it might be somewhere different. But if you can find the assets, you'll see the dots right there as big stickers. And then what you can do is zoom in to whatever works with how you're viewing this, and just scroll left and right and hang some dots on the images. Thanks, Gary.
Let me know if I'm sharing too much background noise. I got the dev track going on in the other room.
And as you go, if you have any like meta thoughts about this exercise or how it's going, there's that blue area up above. You can drag one of these cards if you want and add a thought. And think about what makes an image collaborative, or what makes an image intuitive. And then where we're going to go next with this is we're going to sort these out and sort of share our thoughts. And I would say take delight when you drag a dot on an image and you realize that a dot that's a different color is there. And this is an exercise that we've done with clients for sort of building an understanding of their maybe their identity, if we're doing some identity exploration work for them. We have a couple more minutes, so keep dotting away. And I love what people are adding up above about what's hard, where you get stuck. What would you ask somebody else who seems like they're just zipping around, dropping dots everywhere, and they're intrepid in their dotting? Like a minute and a half left. And then I'll take a quick temperature read of if you really want to keep going, if you feel like you didn't get enough time. And don't hesitate to add a dot if the dot is already there. Sort of looking for density here. So you can definitely like +1 something. That's helpful. I thought about you guys a lot as I was rounding up all of these images and wondering what would happen in your brains. And think about contrasts or intersections and how you might describe to the team. That's what we're going to do next is start setting that up. I'm going to turn on our graphs. And we're going to move into plotting. We're at time. I love the music, but maybe we'll either turn it down, or I kind of love it. I kind of hate to say go away music, but I love it. So what we're going to do now is show of hands. Are people, do they feel like they dotted enough? Yes. Wave your hands around. Cool. You guys can unmute. I definitely don't want to be the only voice talking in a collaborative session. So let's zoom out. I need to zoom out so I can kind of find the dots, and we'll see if I chose my colors well enough that we can find these at the 10,000 foot level. And I'm going to ask for some help. I'm going to ask for you to drag the dotted images onto the graphs down below. The first graph is collaborative to assertive, and the other one is structured to intuitive. And you're going to find the colors there. How these graphs in quotes work is the outer end is the more dotted. It got more of the collaborative dots, and in toward the center is fewer. Drag them on the outside of the, I'll do one to show you what I mean. I'll just grab this tree here, and whoops, I gotta go over to the intuitive one. It got one dot, so I'm gonna drag it here. And if you need to resizing it is tricky. Well, do your best. I can make the boards bigger. So start grabbing the images and dot them. If you have an image that got multiple color dots, make a duplicate of it and then throw one on the other board as well. So we'll kind of do this like when we all help with the stickies. So everybody drag. And so anybody who's not like in Figma all the time, just hold down to drag. Oops, some of them, let's see. And I already messed something up. Let's see. I keep. Some of them, the dots look like they might have gotten put there, but maybe not in the frame. So if the dot doesn't travel with it, yeah, this one's not with the column. Hopefully the dots are traveling. If the dots don't travel, move it and then redot it really quickly with what didn't go with it. Like the collaborative somehow didn't end up on the column. So I just brought the dot back over. But hopefully the way I did this, the dots will travel with the images. And yeah, putting things, and I can see already. And don't feel beholden to rigidly like 2 dots has to go in the 2 dot zone. It's just sort of meant to put the most heavily dotted ones out. Yeah, this was the interesting part. I was wondering how we would. I think what I'm gonna do is see if I can. There we go. I'm gonna give us a little more room, vertical space. So appreciate you wrangling in Figma with me. And oh yeah, some of the dots somehow, how did this happen? Some of the dots ended up not traveling in their frames. You might have to cut a dot and then.
Yeah, I've been like, yeah, exactly. I've been cutting and pasting.
Okay, yeah, I'm not, I guess they didn't go in their frame. Boo. Well, do your best. We all know what to do. Get those dots there. They must have been dropped in a different way.
If we have something that has different colored dots, do we duplicate it and delete the other dots?
Why don't you, I'm moving this down so I can make it taller. Why don't you, what do we think? That's a great question. A lot of these, obviously this is not scientific, hard science. This is smushy science. I don't know, because when we're considering collaborative versus assertive and we see something that is collaborative and then it has a structured dot on it, I think that's interesting. It kind of blew my mind to figure out how to put these actually on an actual grid. And so maybe leave the dot there. And then when we're looking at it, we can notice that and externalize a thought about that. So as we're moving these, let's see. Okay, let's do a power moving session for a second here. Let's see if we can get a few more pulled down. Oh man, why aren't the dots? The dots were supposed to. I think it's easier to just drag a new dot and then grab the thing. If you're trying to grab one and the dot didn't go with it, just something happened. Sorry, you guys. When I had this set up, like the dots just traveled in the frames, but you might have to do a little bit of quick redotting. I'll give us a second to. Okay, some of them go, some of them don't. I don't really know why. And in a second, we're gonna start externalizing. It might.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Me and Chantal are like trying to grab the same thing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you might have to, let's see, like duplicate something and then. No, why did that so good? Must have been something I couldn't have figured out. I felt like I was kind of building a product, a weird Figma mood boarding product without you guys. I'm thinking, how's this going to fall apart when everybody's in here? It's holding up. Something's emerging. This is why I asked. I am on my big monitor, way zoomed out, so I can see this, and I'm wondering how Louis, like how Liat is hanging in on her laptop. Tried to figure it out. Okay, so I'm going to ask some people who are enjoying moving images to keep moving some images over, and I'm going to zoom in on the collaborative versus assertive board. And I see Nikki and I see Elias, I see Ben here on this board. Nikki, can you grab one of your favorite of the collaborative, maybe one of the heavily dotted ones, images, and kind of highlight on it, and then let's talk about what makes it collaborative. Like whichever one you think is interesting to start on.
Sure.
Yeah.
I picked this sort of vase with a bunch of faces on it, this series of faces. And I like the image, but also I think collaborative is just people. I think looking at all of these images, there's sort of an idea of people being, or whatever sort of pairs that are matched up here being kind of similar but different, and the composition being very based on maybe a little bit of repetition and certainly of sort of slightly different iterations of something similar.
Neat. So what I'm doing is, as Nikki's talking, I'm grabbing these cards and I'm just kind of, so I captured people, which I think means many, right? Multitude of voices, similar but different. And now as facilitator, I forgot the last thing you said, and it was really lovely, and I wanted to write it down. So if you can think of something, feel free to add it here. And how about Louise? Could you? I see your cursor hovering over some collaborative stuff. Could you pick a collaborative image and like highlight it, and then we can capture why do you think that it is a collaborative image? What are the aspects of it?
So I'm on this one with the bikes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least they remind me of bikes. Yeah, they're bikes. And it seems collaborative. They're all intertwined in like a network. And seems like you would need multiple people again to kind of be working this whole thing. And I see the repetition again, kind of is a collaborative thing in a way. And
Nice.
yeah.
Cool. Mandy, could you find us an image? And feel free to type on long, you can see how I'm dragging word cards. If you're hearing something really rich that somebody is saying, feel free to jump in here and help me type. You gotta like double click a little bit to get down to the text. But Mandy, what is an image that's sticking out for you?
Or collaborative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm tied between the spaghetti and the cups. Just something that works seamlessly well together, like it just fits. So the spaghetti obviously is a little bit messy and a little bit more just whatever happens, happens, but the combination is what makes it complete.
Sometimes messy. Yeah. And I like that the combination arrives us to the, let's see, combination arrives us to the answer. Might not actually be an answer, but the end result. How about, let's skip over to assertive. And is there an image that somebody would like to tag from the assertive pile and speak to? Ben, I see your cursor hovering around down there. Why is an image assertive? Choose one and
I was actually pausing on this one because I was like, I wondered what someone else thought there.
I can share. I think that's my dot.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious. Go for it.
I think there's strength in that image. And I liked that as not the most obvious image that I would pick for assertive, because assertive comes with assumptions for me. I think when we think about an assertive leadership style, we're actually going to talk about that one, I think, right after this. I have assumptions of like steamrolling over somebody or being overpowering or overbearing. And there's this softness to that image. And so I wonder about how one might be assertive or be a leader, but in a quiet way, you know, that maybe having a strong stance doesn't have to mean being overbearing. So I'm interested in that because I think that the way that she's looking head on, she's very strong and she's very calm and confident, but she's not, but it's not an aggressive image. It's not like this one over here that's more obvious assertive image, which is this red and black one with the typography that's very strong. But so that's why I put that dot. I'm curious, given that, what's another one you might choose to explain assertive?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this one here, which actually, for a moment, I thought of as collaborative as well, but I kind of liked how it felt like multiple voices, and that can be a positive thing. And, you know, getting everyone to speak up and seemed like a positive thing. So, yeah, I think I just sort of like the sort of dual meaning of this, and it feels kind of messy too, but generally positive.
Yeah. Does anyone want to, does anybody want to take the tomato and explain assertive? Just like, let's go out there. There's a tomato. Why is it assertive? Like, Liat, you're smiling. Haha, do you want to take the tomato? Who wants the tomato? Who's brave? Why is the tomato assertive?
Where's the tomato?
He's down here under the under the dancer.
Maybe because there is the tomato that's kind of going along to its own beat. Like it's big, it's unshaped. It's not like that commercial tomato that you see when you're going grocery shopping. It has a vision for itself.
Nice, a strong vision. The tomato has a strong vision. The singular. Cool.
When I look at all of these images, I see a lot of bright colors and some of the more graphic approaches. I also think it's interesting that in the board, this is actually, I think, the only place where we've put Black men. There are a lot of Black men in this section. Oh, and I think that's really, really interesting.
That is a really interesting observation. And I'm trying to think in my mind of, I picked all these images thinking about these 4 themes. And I think for some of them, and I know the dancer got intuitive, and down there's that collage guy in the lower left. I was thinking of that as, well, maybe assertive, but also intuitive, but that is very interesting. Maybe you found a beautiful, I think with assertive, I bring to the table assumptions about what an assertive style is, but assertive, if it's not those negative things, kind of, that I think sometimes it can be, it can be strength and power. Maybe that's like what's the word? Maybe an intersection with the moment and wanting to give that strength and power.
Yeah.
It can be also okay to acknowledge a bit of bias, you know, implicit, that is potentially, you know, could be problematic, but sit with it. You just notice it. I think appreciate Nikki bringing it up.
Yeah. I was associating a lot of linear or, masculine images with assertiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they do tend to be, although there are bright colors across the board. Yeah, it's interesting. That's cool. Why don't
Tomato
I
made me
think these
remember.
have bright colors with a lot of contrast. So specifically, they're sort of asserting like a difference between two things. I'm looking at the nose and the watermelon, and both of them are like really sort of about the two colors and maybe easy to distill.
Mm-hmm. So if you mapped that, if you like up leveled that to a leadership style or a communication style, someone who's taking an assertive approach, how might contrasts or a simpler set of choices?
Yeah, I think like straightforward and clear would sort of come from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more we talk about it, the more I'm realizing, I think my initial thinking of assertive is pretty narrow. It's, like outspoken and aggressive maybe. But really, I mean, assertive can be incredibly like warm and helpful and a relief to people, to someone's stepping up and saying what's on everyone's minds, or protecting someone or like advocating for someone. I start to look at some other ones from the other that we tagged to other words, and I don't know, I just think more almost like a point of view or like a clear thought that I could have potentially tagged with assertive.
Yeah, clarity, a relief to others, advocating for a clear vision. And yet that can happen with softness, and it doesn't have, it's interesting what it brings to mind. I think I arrived at assertive with like some assumptions that it means steamrolling, it means boxing everyone out of the conversation. I'm keeping my eye on time. If you guys are enjoying this, maybe we can keep going a little bit into the break. We started a little bit late because of the other thing beforehand, the awesome thing before, but I'm gonna slide right. And let's explore structured versus intuitive. And I would love, like Elias, is there an image that you think would be interesting to start with for either end of this spectrum? We could talk about.
Sure.
You could just like hover your cursor over one that's catching your eye. Where's your cursor? There you are, down there. Cool. You're over the A. Yep.
Yeah, that guy. Oh, I don't have to bring it over, do I? Or just yeah.
We found it. Yeah.
It's just kind of implicit in the image that there is stepping happening here. It feels structured. You don't feel like there's anything out of place for the most part.
So if we up leveled that, like repetition, what was the word I had thought of? Like predictable, maybe a structured, predictable, maybe a structured approach is it's got predictability to it when you experience it. What about on the other end of the spectrum? Is there an image that is the opposite of predictable or repeated? Leah, is there something that calls your attention?
Sure. I really like the little Bambi right here. I feel the reason I think it's intuitive is because I feel like once they're born, they just know how to walk, or they have to at least to save their lives. So it's kind of intuitive for them.
Yeah, cool. Maya, is there an image on the structured to intuitive spectrum that catches your eye?
Sorry, I had to unmute there.
Oh,
Yeah, I really liked this image right here of this kind of like, oh, sorry.
yeah.
Like this like ever-going pattern that we may not see the end of, but we know kind of what is going to come.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I didn't know if that one would come out as intuitive or structured. I think pattern, as we said, these things aren't binary. Patterns can be in all of these. And there are in some of the places where there are patterns, they're very rigid. And then this pattern is very soft and organic. And I like what you said there, that like it's expected, but it goes beyond what we can see, but there's a feeling of comfort, like you know where it goes, which I think is what maybe a structured approach can bring when you're convening a group of people. You can provide that structure so that they can be comfortable with knowing more about where you're taking them. How do folks feel about doing a couple more, or do you want to zoom out and be meta for a moment? I haven't really like looked up at what anybody might have added above. You can kind of see how this exercise works. You start to, maybe you're working on branding with a client. So you're literally asking them, what do you want to look like? Or what do you hate? What do you like? What do you hate? I've done this exercise before as well, when it's like, who are you? Or who do you want to be versus who are you not? So you're only actually doing a yes or no. You're only dotting two things. And then you have a really rich conversation and you start to find other words for, with ad council, like who did they want to be and who were they not and why? So it's kind of a neat kickoff exercise depending on the type of project. We can do a couple more. It is the break time. I knew this would be rich and we would scratch the surface. I'm super happy to hang out with you guys for a few minutes longer. Does somebody have a favorite image on the structured to intuitive that we didn't get to talk about?
I just had a quick thought, and what caught my eye was like the different forms of structure. Like if I bring these three here, there's one where it's like things clearly have their place, and then there are things that are more organic. But what still holds the structure is basically some form of foundation, no matter how like how different it may be or how unstructured it might feel, it still holds.
And I love that all the examples you pulled are wood. Pictures of logs, blocks, and then some kind of weird like jigsaw puzzle thing. So structure provides a foundation, but I think what I love that you just nailed is structure. For me, I realized a lot of assumptions I was maybe bringing to the table, probably out of like needing to make this exercise go for over the next couple of days. But structured doesn't have to mean rigid. Maybe that's another thing that Maya brought up. In the image that you talked about, Maya, it's like there's a softness, like being structured. I'm a highly intuitive person, so I get weird. I get all twitchy when I have to become structured. And this is sort of taking us back to like we all have our sweet spot, and then we all have the places where it stretches us. Structure. There is good in foundation. There is good in predictability. There is good in giving your clients a sense of where they're going and where you are. If you're a highly intuitive person, that can be hard because you're just in intuitive, ambiguous land, and that's where you need to be until you magically get it. But foundation is foundation, and it can take many forms. So how might I find a way to be structured and highly intuitive at the same time?
I think there's an idea, especially like building off of what Mandy said and looking at that picture of wood, there's something about like procedural, where it's not necessarily that you end up with a very rigid or sort of linear result, but that you have sort of a methodology underlying what you're doing. And then sort of emergent behavior grows on top of the source. I think that's a really cool way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I was having a thought too about the fluidity of everything, because I feel like I can almost make a case for any image being on any being assertive or structured or intuitive. So I was kind of feeling that in a way it's really personal, and it really just depends on how you're looking at the image and what speaks to you from that image.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All of these images, I stayed up way too late many of the nights finding these and being like, wait, are they shaking out into enough? Do I have enough structure? I sure I'm over here in the intuitive land, but then I realized they can all be seen different ways. And that's why I was really excited for you guys to get in here. And I'm going to have fun looking at this to see what you guys dotted. And feel free to do this in the background while other things are happening, just putting some dots on and build it up. And I think that, Jantel, you hit on something that I said at the outset, which I think is really key, especially after that leadership workshop we went to, not Aaron's, but the Lighthouse one. I think there was this feeling of because that was the only one we had done yet, it was that's not my style. I'm feeling kind of weirded out that I was just told to be that. And I think that the truth is, the most important thing for us to realize is there is no one way to be. Our goal is to find the way that we are our most powerful. We are our most authentic, our most comfortable, so we can be confident. And so we can choose any of these. We can choose the way that's not even one of these quadrants. We just sort of came up with this construct to tease out, to put some framing around how to even talk about it. When we started thinking about this, we were talking about persuasion. Remember, we said at the beginning of the year as our team, let's study persuasion. And then we thought, it's really hard to figure out how to dive into that. It's humongous and also very narrow at the same time. What does persuasion mean? And I don't know, Nikki, if you want to layer onto this, but we got into some really rich conversations around how I think maybe what we're talking about is just confidence. And what makes you confident is when you are comfortable.
Yeah, I think I reacted in a certain way to that Lighthouse presentation. And I think was really pleased to talk to Jantel and have her very clearly say, I'm going to keep what's interesting to me and discard the rest, because not everything has to match. But I think that a lot of times we go into these situations and feel a little bit overwhelmed and feel like maybe people don't want what we're putting down. And I wanted to work with Susan, work with Elias to really make space for all of the things that I've seen folks do and win over a client and really build trust. And that isn't necessarily, have your totally white smile and nod a lot and have a really expressive voice. There's a lot of things that we do that all sort of result in being able to build really good products. And I wanted to explore stuff that maybe sort of breaks what we think of as confidence or persuasion, because I think that can be a narrow frame.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Dave, I'm looking at you. What time does the next thing happen? It's in 7 minutes. Is it at the top of the next hour?
Yeah, we're on break now, so you can take a couple minutes to wrap up. That'll be nice to support the folks that put together the scavenger hunt.
Yeah. My wrap up is this conversation. I didn't have any big meta thoughts other than to collaborate with you. And, you guys are all experts at collaborating, and we do that in a lot of different form factors. I mean, we did all the things. We stayed positive. We built on what each other said. Nobody said no to anyone's idea. We found ways to invite quieter voices to speak up or participate, and riff off of each other and be generative. And I think that is the collaborative leadership style, and collaborative participation too, of you guys offering your thoughts and kind of being smushy and brave in this pseudoscientific adventure of plotting intuitive definitions. But I think it's interesting, and we have these now. We kind of have some words for these definitions, and we can take that with us into the rest of the topics. So go jump up and wiggle. Thanks for playing. Feel free to keep dotting, and we'll see you in the next.
Thanks everyone. I really like the framework. Super neat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sus.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't know. Do we just leave this Zoom open or do we go? I guess we go and then we come back. Do whatever you want.
But let's leave the Figma open and just have that as a Noogle space.
Yeah. Cool.
Nooglespace.biz. Okay.
Okay. See you guys in a few minutes. Thanks for playing.
I'm slow. I sent you a message too because I wasn't sure about my terminology.
Oh, I know. I'm not even sure. Whenever I'm screen sharing, I like miss message it. I miss messages. I was thinking about you a lot as I was pulling all these images together. I was like, I wonder which ones Suzanna would like. I wonder.
Oh yeah, I loved a lot of them. And I was like really interested in how people would dot both that Black Power fist.
Yeah. How did it come out? Let's see.
It got like
Assertive,
3 different.
it got, yeah, here it is now. Collaborative, assertive, and intuitive. I was wondering too if maybe the greens and blues got a little mixed up because they're kind of similar, but I was like, oh my God, I have so many colors. I have to make these dots pop, but I didn't want to make them be super gross. So I was trying to make it pretty and poppy. And so I wonder if some of them, but yeah.
You're definitely cute. I was like, the comment I said to you in Slack was like, is it appropriate to use phallic? Because because from art class, you know, like straight images that are, I ended up using linear, but straight images that are linear. Like,
well, did you see the banana I put?
Yeah, and I
yellow banana.
was like, I want to put this as assertive, but I don't know if people are gonna.
No, that's where I grabbed it. I was like, that's an assertive image there, isn't it? And it's like the yellow banana guys over here. I love how he's like, da, 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 da. He's like all peeled open and like, hi, I'm your banana. Like, aren't I great? And you're like, oh yeah, you and you.
Yeah, I wanted to like, I don't know. I was like, I
gave you 2 bananas, Gintel. There's 2 bananas.
And there's like an egg, which I don't know. Maybe the feminine word that goes with that is intuitive.
And I think, to be honest, like the eggs, some of them I just needed like some small things to put in different spots. And I'm like, oh, an egg is small. And so I probably would have put that as a sort of more for the visual of like just one thing. That feels assertive to me compared to the things that are more patterns and tangled up. But the bananas were definitely like assertive. And like, that's interesting because, oh, well, a banana, phallic, male, back to assertive, and if nothing else, preconceived notions of who is assertive.
Yeah.
You know, like it is all. And I totally would have been okay with you saying that because this is our art school moment.
Okay, cool.
I wanted to
like,
be.
How
You
how
can.
old are we gonna be about?
You can even with some clients, yes, depending on the clients and how we know them. But when there's no clients, yes.
Yeah.
Because that's why you had your bananas there. I got you.
I like this jazzy banana too.
Yeah.
But yeah, super awesome.
Yay. Good. Yeah. Well, and the wrangling in Figma, I thought maybe I could have done it with like half as many images, but I wanted to have all the images.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of images, but I kind of loved that because I feel like a lot of us are so like, all right, let's get it done. And then if we just quickly do everything, well, I don't know, if we did it all, that may have been fine.
I wanted it to feel abundant.
Yeah.
Maybe and when I've done this, like when Ben and I did this for Ad Council, we filled a whole wall of a big project room with 8.5 by 11 pages that we taped up. So we probably had this much. We probably had this many printed images. Like we went to Kinko's and printed a stack about 1 inch thick and we taped them all up because you want that feeling of like I wanted to change the mood.
I would
But
have loved that in
yeah,
person.
we'll do it. We'll do it someday.
All right, cool.
Exactly the same thing, but in person. So it was interesting to try to figure out how this would work. This would be hard with clients. Well, they'd have to be comfortable. The dragging of the dots was interesting to me. Like sometimes it worked exactly as I thought, where it dropped right into the frame so that then we could move it. And then I think some people added dots in some other way where it didn't quite go in the frame. I'm not sure what that was.
Yeah. I think if they used the assets thing, it worked, but I'm not sure.
I was definitely like, okay, I wish I could prototype this, but I don't want to give it away. And like wanted to defend, so I think it held up. It held up, and then yeah. So we've got other. Elias will do assertive now. I guess people will just come back on this call.
Oh, is it this call?
I think it should. Oh wait, are we doing something before we come back? Let's see. I've lost.